Good evening, all of you. So we shall start the discussion on today's newspaper. So one thing you should notice about studying newspaper is that you should be crystal clear with your syllabus. Okay? Because the newspaper is a source of vast information. So many information is given in a newspaper, and you need to understand that which information is necessary for you, and how you will get to understand that. It is when you are aware of the syllabus. Okay, so write down the syllabus, paste it in your wall, remember it. Only by knowing the syllabus, you will be able to understand which news has to be filtered out, and which news is to be retained in your mind. Okay, so when the way I go through each page, so you will have a better idea about a newspaper reading. Okay, so let's start with the first news, which is basically your regarding this NEET protest. Now understand, see, NEET, first of all, you need see, this protest is an ongoing protest. Every day there will be some development. ठीक है, the protest is not going to, like, it's not ending today, or like it's not the end of the protest or not the beginning of the protest. So it's an ongoing process. Every day you will get some new development. ठीक है. So the point is how to read about this protest. So avoid reading that how many people were present or which political party was basically involved. This is not your concern. This is not your concern. You have to base your understanding, or you have to base your reading around the syllabus of your exam. Okay. So first of all, let's try to understand what is this controversy. What is this controversy, and why people are sitting on protest. We will not go into like the political narrative, whether the protest is good or the protest is bad. That's not our concern right now. So first try to understand that why this protest is happening. So the protest is happening because this year only there was a leak in the NEET exam paper. There was a leak in the NEET exam paper. Now what is this NEET? What is this NEET? Now NEET stands for National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. ठीक है. Now what is this exam? See, this NEET exam, it happens for admission in medical colleges. So in the medical colleges. So earlier, so we have to, before understanding what is the current system, you have to understand what was the past system. So earlier there were medical colleges of both central government and state government. Okay. So there were different state government medical colleges, and there were central government medical colleges. For central government medical colleges, there used to, just a second, what happened? For central government medical colleges, there used to be an exam called CPMT, Central Pre-Medical Test, and different states used to conduct their own medical exam for their medical colleges. Now government, they decided to basically have a common exam for all the medical colleges in India, and that exam was called NEET. So NEET stands for National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. Okay. So now the question comes, who conducts the NEET exam? Which body is responsible for conducting the NEET exam? So earlier this NEET exam, it was conducted by basically your Ministry of Health, but now an agency called NTA was created. An agency called NTA was created in the year 2017. This body NTA, it comes under Ministry of Education. And it is a autonomous organization. So NTA stands for National Testing Agency. Now this NTA was entrusted for conducting all the competitive exams in India. Competitive exams in the sense all the exams for taking admission in different colleges. This specialized body was created by Government of India. So this NTA, National Testing Agency, it is responsible for conducting exams for NEET, of course, NEET. Okay. Then there is JEE, that is for IIT admission and all. Then you have exams like UGC NET, etc. etc. Okay. Now this year, in the year 2026, there was a leak in the paper of NEET. There was a leak in the paper of NEET. Okay. So the question is, so after the paper was leaked, so few students out of depression or out of stress, I think some 12 students committed suicide. Now this ongoing protest is regarding that paper leak only. The protesters who are sitting, they are demanding resignation. Their demands are basically resignation of our current education minister, whose name is Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan. Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan. Dharmendra Pradhan. Why are they demanding the resignation of education minister? Because the body NTA, which is responsible for conducting the exam, the parent ministry of NTA is your education ministry. That's why the demand for resignation of Mr. Pradhan is there. Now, is it the first leak under NTA? No, it is not the first leak. Last year also, there was a leak in the examination paper of UGC NET. UGC NET is an exam which NTA conducts for admission in master courses. Like if you have to do masters, any masters, for that you have to appear for UGC NET. So there have been series of leaks. So that's why this demand is there. And their other demand is that some compensation should be paid. To the students who basically ended their life because of this paper leak. So it is written compensation for NEET aspirants who ended lives. Okay, now. So these are the two major demands which basically these protesters are putting up. Now, this part is okay. You understood what is the controversy regarding. Now, protest. Is it legal to protest in India? Yes, it is very much legal to protest in India. Article number 19, clause 1, it gives fundamental right to protest. But there are certain exceptions to it. What are the exceptions? That the protest needs to be peaceful. It needs to be organized in a public place. Okay. And no arms should be there at the place of protest. So these are the conditions. If you are fulfilling these conditions, in that case, you are allowed to protest. In fact, the Constitution of India gives you this as a fundamental right. Now, this protest has been happening for the last 20 days. There has been no issue. Now, what happened? That on 20th July, so you have, focus on the points which are very much significant for your exam, like what is NEET, what is NTA, what is Article 19 Clause 1. These are important for your exam, so you have to focus on these points. Now, on 20th July, a protest march was launched, and people were the protesters. They were trying to reach the Parliament House. Okay. And some violence took place. Now, what is the takeaway from this? So, can they march towards the Parliament? Yes, they can march towards the Parliament. Again, Article 19 Clause 1, it gives fundamental right of movement. But what is the question here? What is the issue here? The issue being there is again exception to fundamental right to movement also. We know that our fundamental rights are not absolute, they are conditional, there are reasonable restrictions under Article 19 Clause 2. So there are restrictions like, for example, those tribal dominated place, the movement is restricted. For example, example, the in Nagaland only, if you have to enter Nagaland, you have to take something called ILP, which is called inner line permit. So this is one restriction over freedom of movement, basically to protect the culture of the tribal people of India. Then your movement should not disturb the law and order. That is also a restriction. Now, around the parliament area, the administration had imposed curfew. The administration had imposed curfew. Now, curfew means earlier it was under IPC 144. IPC 144. Curfew means that not more than 4 people can assemble at a place. Now, what the government says that a movement was not allowed, and then the skirmishes took place, and we know that we should not go too much into detail about ball by ball commentary that what happened out there. So, what are the takeaways from this news? Number one, what is NEET? Now, what is NEET? That is the biggest takeaway. Okay. What is NTA? What is NTA? How are they related? What is the current controversy? What is the current controversy? Then we talked about Article 19, fundamental right under Article 19, that is freedom of movement and freedom and right to protest. Right to protest. So these are the takeaways from this ongoing news regarding NEET protest. Okay. Apart from that, whatever violence is happening, or whatever, which political party is getting involved, you should not be too much concerned with that. You should not be too much concerned with that. Why? Because this is not part of your syllabus. This is not part of your syllabus. Okay. Where can you use these information? You can use these informations under your GS paper 2. GS paper 2. GS paper 2. In GS paper 2, there is a topic called governance. There is a topic called governance. Under governance, these information can be used. These information can be used. If, because this, I told you, this is an ongoing news. This is an ongoing news. So maybe tomorrow again it will come. So maybe again tomorrow we shall discuss more about NEET and what are the issues concerning NEET. Apart from this paper leak, etc., what other issues are there around this NEET exam? There we can talk about the federal issues. The federal issues. How it is a federal issue? I told you that earlier there used to be separate exam for Central Medical College and State Medical College Now both the exams have been combined under NEET. And who conducts NEET? NEET is conducted by NTA. Under whom the NTA comes? NTA comes under your central government. NTA comes under your central government. So this becomes a federal issue. The power of the state is being taken away. So that's why you must have seen Tamil Nadu government since its inception has basically opposed the NEET exam pattern. They have also gone to the Supreme Court, but they did not get basically a positive outcome from Supreme Court. Even if you listen to the comments given by the current CM of Tamil Nadu, he has also suggested to scrap the NEET exam. So see, our agenda is to understand the issue, not to go into the politics, but to understand the issue. So federal issue is also around NEET. Okay, and if tomorrow again this news comes, we can talk about other issues concerning NEET also. So this is about the most important news which is happening, which is going around these days. It is basically your regarding NEET exam, and these are the main takeaways for you as an aspirant. These are the main takeaway for you. Okay, now let's move to the next news. Okay, so now this news again is very important. Monsoon session from August 3 to 6 should have constructive discussion. Who says so? The Speaker of the Lok Sabha says so. Now we will talk about the sessions of Parliament. What is the outcome here? The outcome is the sessions of Parliament. ठीक है. So this is basically regarding your Uttar Pradesh Assembly's monsoon session, because this is an Uttar Pradesh news. But yeah, we will from this we will talk about your we will basically talk about your sessions of the parliament. ठीक है. So under Article 85 of the Constitution, under Article 85 of the Constitution, it is written that the President will summon the sessions of the Parliament. So first of all, understand what is the session of the Parliament. What is the session of the Parliament? So the period between summoning, of Parliament, and the period between prorogation, prorogation. This entire period is called one session. This entire period is called one session of the Parliament. Article 85 says that the President will summon the sessions of Parliament, and also it says that there cannot be more than 6 months between two sessions. There cannot be more than 6 months between two sessions. ठीक है. So who has the summoning power? Who summons the session? It is the President of India who summons the sessions of the Parliament. In case of state, it is the governor of the state. It is the governor of the state. In case of state में governor होते हैं, center में it is the president. It is the president. ठीक है. So they summon, and the session ends with prorogation. So again, the power to prorogue the session also is with the president at the central level, that is in the case of parliament, and governor in the case of state, and governor in the case of state. ठीक है. Now, the constitution says that there cannot be a gap of more than 6 months between two sessions. This is what only constitution talks about the sessions. But as per the parliamentary convention, there are 3 sessions in a year. There are 3 sessions in a year. What are the 3 sessions? First is your budget session. Budget session starts in the month of February. And continues till May. Next session is your monsoon session, which is the session about which we are talking about here. Monsoon session starts in the month of July generally and ends in August. And the last session of the year is called the winter session. Winter session starts in the month of November and continues till December. ठीक है. So this is about the sessions of the parliament. Going into more details, so let's say the parliamentary session is called. ठीक है. Now every day the members of parliament will come to a parliament and they will have discussions in the house of parliament. Every day at the end of the day, the speaker or the presiding officer of the house, that is speaker in case of Lok Sabha and chairman in case of Rajya Sabha, the presiding officer of the house, he or she will adjourn the house. So what is the meaning of adjournment? Adjournment means the current sitting is over. ठीक है. And whenever the presiding officer adjourns the house, who adjourns the house? Number one, it is the presiding officer of the house. That is speaker in case of Lok Sabha, and chairman in case of Rajya Sabha. Now one thing to notice here, whenever the presiding officer adjourns the house, the presiding officer has to mention the next time of meeting. For example, let's say today in the evening the presiding officer is adjourning the house. So the presiding officer will say, let's say speaker in the case of Lok Sabha, the honorable speaker will say that house is being adjourned till 11 a.m. tomorrow. Matlab, the house will meet again tomorrow at 11 a.m. ठीक है. This is the meaning of adjournment. At times what happens, so every day the members will meet. At the end of the day, house will be adjourned. ठीक है. Now let's say after 20 or 30 or 40 days, all the business which was planned for this particular session is over. So on the last day of the session, On the last day of the session, the presiding officer will not adjourn the house but will do something called adjournment sine die. Adjournment sine die. Now, what is the meaning of adjournment sine die? And what is the difference between adjourn and adjournment sine die? So, I told you, whenever the house is adjourned, the presiding officer has to mention the next day of meeting or the next time of meeting. When will the house meet next? It has to be mentioned along with the adjournment. Along with the adjournment. But whenever the house is adjourned sine die, the next time of meeting is not to be mentioned. So generally, in the last day of session, after 30-40 days, when all the business which was planned for the particular session is over, on the last day of the session, the speaker will adjourn the house sine die. Matlab, now the speaker or the chairman, in case of Rajya Sabha, will not be mentioning your next time of meeting. And after adjournment sine die is done, within 3-4 days, the president in case of parliament and governor in case of state assembly will prorogue the house. So the session starts with summoning. Every day there will be adjournment. At the last day of the session, there will be adjournment sine die. And after 3-4 days, prorogation happens. With this, the session ends. Okay. So this is the takeaway which you have to which you have to get from here. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so I told you one thing that basically your NEET has federal issues. So you can see this: scrap NEET, bring education under state list. Now we see another term here: state list. Now what is this state list? Okay. So try to understand. There is Schedule 7 of the Constitution. What does Schedule 7 does? Schedule 7 basically divides the subjects of lawmaking or subjects of legislation. So under Article 246 of the Constitution, there is Schedule 7 of the Constitution. Schedule 7 divides the subjects of the legislation between the central government and the state government. But it's basically the central level and the state level. Okay. Now, Schedule 7 basically has 3 lists. If you open Schedule 7, you will find 3 lists. First is your central list. Second is your state list. And third is your concurrent list. Okay. Now, there are subjects under central list. So the subjects which are under central list, on those subjects, only the Parliament of India is empowered to make laws. Now, how many subjects are there? There are 100 subjects in the central list. Originally, there were 97 subjects. Now, there are 100 subjects. Talking about state list. So, on the subjects which are there in the state list, only under normal circumstances. See, I'm not going to detail about exceptions, but under normal circumstances, only the state legislature has the exclusive power to make law. Okay. And there are 61 subjects under the state list. Then there are concurrent list. On the subjects which are mentioned in the concurrent list. So originally there were 66 subjects. Now there are 61 subjects. Coming to concurrent list. On the subjects which are there in the concurrent list, on the subjects which are there in the concurrent list, both the Parliament and the State Legislative Assembly are empowered to make law. Under concurrent list, there are currently 52 subjects. Originally, there were 47 subjects. Okay. 47 subjects. Now, You might ask that if both parliament and state assembly can make law on subject under concurrent list, then what if on the same subject both state assembly also makes a law and parliament also makes a law? Then there will be two laws on the same subject. Which law to be followed? There will be utter confusion, chaos, everything. So the constitution says if both parliament and state assembly have made laws on the same subject under the concurrent list, then the law made by the parliament shall prevail. Law made by the parliament shall prevail. ठीक, are you getting my point? Law made by the parliament shall prevail under normal circumstances. Of course, there are exceptions. We are not going into that. There are exceptions, but we are not going into that. ठीक है. Now, there is what if there is a subject which is not there in any of the three lists? Let's say there is a subject which is not there in any of the three lists: central list, state list, concurrent list. What about that subject? Who will make law on that subject? Because it is not an exhaustive list, right? So subjects which are not there in any of the three lists, they are called residuary subject. They are called residuary subject. And power to make law on residuary subject is called residuary power. Is called residuary power. Now, as per the Constitution of India, Parliament of India has the residuary power. Parliament of India has residuary power. Matlab, if there is a subject which is not mentioned in any of the three lists, on that subject only the Parliament of India can make law. Only the Parliament of India can make law. Now, coming to the matter of education. So what does the CM of basically your Tamil Nadu says? He says that scrap NEET and bring education under state list. Now I gave you an idea why they are talking about scrapping NEET. Because it's a federal issue. Earlier there were separate exams for state medical colleges and central medical colleges. But now under NEET, there is a common exam. There is a common exam which basically takes away the power of the states. Which basically takes away the powers of the state. ठीक है ना? A trend towards centralization. A trend towards centralization. Now education, the subject education was originally under state only. The subject education was originally under state list only. But by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, done in the year 1976, the subject of education was brought from state list to concurrent list. State list to concurrent list. So that's why the parliament was able to make law over the state list, over the subject of basically your education. Had this been under state list, Parliament would have no authority to make law over basically your the subject of education. That's why they are demanding that. They are demanding what? They are demanding that education must be brought under the state list. Education must be brought under the state list. Okay. Okay. So let's move to the next news now. So on this page, there are two important news. So we'll go one by one. So just a second. Okay. So first news says that future wars cannot be fought by individual services. IAF chief. So the Indian Air Force chief says that whatever war will happen in future, it cannot be fought individually. It cannot be fought individually. So why does he say so? So it is his own opinion. We know that the modern warfare is becoming more and more complex. It requires basically the cooperation of all the three services. Which three services? The Navy, the Air Force, and the Army. Now this is okay, but in this news there are some information which are important for your prelims. Now where did the Indian Air Force chief make this statement? So he made this statement during the commissioning ceremony of INS Malwan. See, INS Malwan. INS stands for Indian Naval Service. So what is this INS Malwan? INS Malwan is the second vessel in the Mahe class. See here, Mahe class anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft. So what is this INS Malwan? INS Malwan is an Mahe class. There are a class of submarines. There are class of basically whatever the ship vessel are there are different classes of that. Okay. So one of the class is the Mahe class. Where is Mahe? Mahe is in Goa. Mahe class anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft. Okay. So it's a basically anti-submarine basically watercraft. It's an anti-submarine watercraft. What is the name? INS Malwan. INS Malwan. Okay. Now talking about the INS Malwan, INS Malwan. So there are, see, it is the second one. It is the second one. In total, eight anti-submarine water shallow watercraft. 8 anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft, which is in short ASW, SWC. So 8 ASW, SWC are to be built. Built by which body? Built by CSL Kochi. CSL Kochi. So there is an organization called CSL Kochi. Okay. So out of the 8, this is the second one. This is the second one. Okay. Now good thing about this INS Malwan, that 80% 80% basically this manufacturing, 80% of the component of this INS Malwan is indigenous. Matlab 80% of the component has been built in India only. Now this is a very good news for our mission of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now what is this Atmanirbhar Bharat? Atmanirbhar Bharat basically in English translates to self-reliant India. That we should not be dependent upon any foreign country for any item for that matter. For any item. And let alone Navy. Let alone Navy. Why we say so? Navy in particular and defense items in general. We can't be dependent upon foreign countries for our defense equipment. Why? You may understand that in the event of war, it may so happen that the foreign country which is supplying us this defense equipment, they may stop the supply. And which might prove basically catastrophic. In the event of warfare. So this is a very good news that CSL Kochi, CSL stands for basically Cochin Shipyard Limited. Where it is? It is in Kochi, of course. Kochi kahan hai? Kerala mein. Kochi is in Kerala. So basically it's a very good news that this INS Malwan, 80% of its component is built in India only. Okay. Looking at the details of this INS Malwan, so this vessel is basically equipped for what? Underwater surveillance, anti-submarine warfare, underwater surveillance and anti-submarine warfare, low intensity maritime operations. ठीक है ना? And of course there is mine warfare capability. What is mine warfare capability? So if there is any mine, you know what mines are? So if there are any mines laid in the ocean, these basically vessels like your Malwan, INS Malwan, they can detect those mines and they can basically diffuse or neutralize them. ठीक है. Talking more about INS Malwan. So where was this INS Malwan commissioned? So it was commissioned at a place called Karwar. Here is Karwar. So where is Karwar? Karwar is in Karnataka. So basically, Government of India has launched a project called Project Seaward. Under Project Seaward, Karwar is basically being developed as Indian Navy's largest and most ambitious naval infrastructure initiative. Now it spends over around 11,000 crores. It spends around 11,000, not crores, acres of area. Okay. So what all we learned from here? We learned about INS, basically your how it may help you in exam. So they may ask you about INS Malwan. What is INS Malwan? Okay. So now you know it's an basically what is this? It's an anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft. Okay. Which class? Mahe class. Built by whom? Built by the Cochin Shipyard Limited. ठीक है. Where? In Karwar. Then you also know about Project Seabird. They may ask you what is Project Seabird basically. So you may now be able to explain. And in mains, basically under your paper 3, there is a topic called security. There is a topic called security. Under this topic, indigenization of defense equipment is a major achievement. Try to understand. Indigenization of defense equipment, manufacturing of defense equipment is a major achievement now that we don't have to be dependent upon foreign countries. So, this is a big boost to India's maritime security also. Maritime security matlab? Maritime security means basically maritime security means the security of our oceans and seas, right? This is called maritime security. Okay. And we also saw that this development of basically this development of INS your Malwan is also reinforcing the government's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat. ठीक है? Fine. So now let's move to the next news. ठीक है? So here, see, again, it's a political news. So we'll not go into the politics of it. We'll simply try to understand. See it from the perspective of Indian polity. From the perspective of Indian polity. So what does the news say? News says that Supreme Court seeks Lok Sabha Speaker's response on merger of Shiv Sena MPs. Now, what we are going to study is the merger of political parties. ठीक है? So under the 10th schedule of the Constitution, Constitution says that if two parties, suppose, first of all, let's talk about what is 10th schedule. So 10th schedule basically is called anti-defection schedule, or schedule related to anti-defection. Now what is defection? Now defection means that if member of one political party, suppose this is party 1 and this is party 2, if member of one political party, suppose I am a MP and I am from political party X, I contested election on the ticket of a political party X, and after becoming MP I leave this party voluntarily, and I join another party called Y, Now this is called basically defection. See, it has to be voluntary. It has to be done voluntarily. Why voluntarily? Maybe someone forcefully made me join another party. This will not be counted as defection. If I voluntarily leave my party on whose ticket I became an MP or an MLA, and I voluntarily join another party, it will be counted as a defection. Let's talk about independent candidates. Who are independent candidates? Candidates who win election on not on any political party's ticket. They contest election independently. They are called independent members of the parliament. Suppose I want to contest election, but I don't take election ticket from any political party. I contest the election independently, I win the election. It is called, then I will become an independent member of the parliament. So if an independent member joins any political party after the election, this will also be considered as defection. Okay. Then suppose I am a nominated member of the parliament. Okay. So after my nomination, if I join any political party within 6 months, that is okay. But if I join any political party after 6 months, that will also be considered as defection. So 3, if I voluntarily leave the membership of my party and join some other party. 2nd, if an independent member join any political party. 3rd, if a nominated member join any political party after 6 months of his or her nomination. All this will be counted as defection. And if a member is found guilty of defection, if a member is found guilty of defection, that member can be disqualified from being a member of parliament. That member can be disqualified from being a member of parliament. Now the question comes, who will judge? Who will judge whether defection has happened or not? So under the 10th schedule, now this 10th schedule for your information was brought by the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Was brought by the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So this act says that the presiding officer of the house, that is speaker in case of Lok Sabha or state legislative assembly, or chairman in case of Rajya Sabha or state legislative council, will have the power to basically disqualify any member under the laws of defection, under the laws of defection. Okay. Now under this you can understand one more point, that the original law said that whatever decision the speaker takes, that decision will be final and no appeal can be made against the decision. But Supreme Court in a very famous case, Supreme Court case called the Kyoto Holohan case. Kyoto Holohan, he was from Nagaland only. Kyoto Holohan case. In this case, Supreme Court said that no, decision of the speaker will not be final and it can be challenged in the court of law. Now this is the basic information. Now let's come to the current news. Now, in the year 2003, an amendment was done to the anti-defection laws. The amendment says the number was 91st Constitutional Amendment. As per the 91st Constitutional Amendment, suppose in Party X there are 10 MPs, and in Party Y there are, let's say there is a Party Y, not 10, make it 12. So the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act says that if more than two-third कितना हो गया? It will be 8. If more than the two-third of the members together join any party Y, it will not be considered as a defection. Rather, it will be considered as a merger. Okay? So this exception was done by the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003. Okay? So this is all the basic information which you require to understand this news. Now this news, so again I am telling you, we will not go into the politics of it. Which party left, which party joined, this is not our concern. This will not be part of your examination also. In your exam, they will ask these questions only. That what is the meaning of merger of political party? So what is merger? Basically when more than two-third members of any political party leave that party and join another party, then it will be considered as merger. And not as defection. Okay? So, but to give you a background, so in Maharashtra there is a party called Shiva Sena. Now the Shiv Sena, the party broke into two parts. One is called Shiv Sena Normal, another is called Shiv Sena UBT. So some members of Shiv Sena UBT, they left Shiv Sena UBT and joined this Shiva Sena. So Shiva Sena UBT, they alleged that these members should be considered as defected members, or this should be considered as defection. But the speaker did not find it as a defection. So now, because of that Kyoto Holohan case, the members of Shiva Sena UBT, they have approached the Supreme Court saying that defection has happened and the speaker has not taken appropriate decision. Now the Supreme Court of India has sought the speaker's response in this regard. Okay? So what will happen? Again, it's not a very conclusive news. So it's an ongoing news. So whenever the final judgment comes, then we'll talk about it in detail. Okay. But this basic you should remember. What is defection? What counts as a defection? How defection was introduced? What is the amendment? What is merger? These are the news on which you should focus. Don't go into the politics of it. that which political party, which has joined, which not has joined. That is not your concern. They will not ask you in exam. They will not ask you this in exam. Okay. Now let's move to the next news. So the next important news is, see here, with eye on China, Quad commits to strengthen free and open Indo-Pacific. Free and open Indo-Pacific. Okay. So now let's try to understand what is this Quad. What is this Quad? So Quad stands for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. Quad stands for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. Now it's an informal group. It consists of four members. India. Second, it is USA. Third, Japan. And fourth, Australia. ठीक है. Now, why this Quad was formed? The purpose of forming Quad was to ensure that the region of Indo-Pacific remain free and open. Now, what is Indo-Pacific? So basically, I will draw a very rough map of the world here. Suppose this is your Africa. Here is Europe. ठीक है. Here is Europe. यहाँ से एशिया स्टार्ट होता है. जस्ट अ सेकेंड. सपोज दिस इज अफ्रीका. ठीक है. यहाँ से यूरोप स्टार्ट होता है. देन रशिया इज पार्ट ऑफ रशिया हेयर. ठीक है. बिलो इट इज हेयर इज इंडिया. समवेयर हेयर इज इंडिया. ठीक है. And here is Southeast Asian countries. Here is Australia, somewhere here. And here is the USA. यहाँ पे कहीं जापान होता है. ठीक है. This entire thing is your Pacific Ocean. And this entire thing is your Indian Ocean. So earlier what used to happen? This Indian Ocean region and this Pacific Ocean region, they were seen separately. But in the year 2017, what happened? China started asserting itself in this entire region. It started proving to be a threat for countries like India, Australia, Japan, USA. So all these four countries. Now this idea of Quad was basically proposed by the then Japanese Prime Minister, whose name was Shinzo Abe. Now Shinzo Abe proposed an informal grouping consisting of India, all the democratic countries, major countries, India, Japan, USA and Australia. And this informal grouping is called basically your Quad. Now, Quad does not see India and Pacific Ocean separately, Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean separately. Rather, they see it as a joint unit, which is now called Indo-Pacific. What is Indo-Pacific? It's a joint theatre of both Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. One of the main agendas of formation of Quad, even though China was in its background, but one of the main agendas was to keep the Indo-Pacific area free and open. That one country should not assert themselves in this region. This region should be open for navigation. Everyone should be allowed to navigate. No country should put any restriction. That is the purpose behind the formation of Quad. And it was also said that Indo-Pacific will basically centered around the ASEAN region. What is ASEAN? ASEAN basically stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nation. ASEAN consists of 10 countries. They are your Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Philippines, Timor Leste, Vietnam, and one more is Laos, and one more is Brunei. There are 11 countries in ASEAN. So it's a grouping of basically 11 countries ASEAN. So all these four countries basically are Japan, India, USA, Australia. All of them have agreed in principle that that the entire Indo-Pacific should be centered around ASEAN. Now, why this news has come? Why again they are focusing on the objectives of basically your Quad? So see, there was a foreign ministers meeting, Quad foreign ministers meeting. Where was it held? It was held in Philippines. It was held in Philippines. Philippines की capital Manila. There this meeting was held. There this meeting was held with the members of Quad. They have reasserted the objective of keeping Indo-Pacific free and open for navigation, centered around ASEAN. Centered around ASEAN. Now, try to understand. See, India follows a policy. India follows a policy of strategic alignment. Strategic alignment. What is the meaning of strategic alignment? Matlab, there are no permanent allies of India. India is not a permanent friend of any country. Wherever it is strategically benefit for us, whichever country is strategically benefit for us, we are friends with them. We are friends with them. And no other country can dictate us with whom we should be friends and with whom we should not be friends. And the prime example of that is visible here. See, I told you Quad here. In Quad, basically Quad is perceived as an anti-China bloc. I told you in the year 2017 when Shinzo Abe proposed the formation of Quad, at that time basically Quad was China was asserting itself too much in the Indo-Pacific region. So India is a member of Quad, which is for all practical purposes an anti-China bloc. But see here the another news. Our foreign minister is also meeting in the same Philippines. He's also meeting with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. And there in the meeting, basically our foreign minister is stressed about the market access, the supply chain at the market access. Now, what is the meaning of market access? See, whenever Chinese products enter India, they don't face much barrier. But whenever Indian products enter China, Indian products enter China, a lot of barrier is put over their entry. Now there are two kinds of barriers. One is called tariff barrier. Other is called non-tariff barrier. What is tariff barrier? Suppose when Indian products enter China, let's say China puts a tariff of 100%. Matlab, if the cost of the product in India was 10 rupees, it will cost 20 rupees in China. Matlab, more expensive. And we know it's a general principle, economic principle, more the price, lesser the demand. So this is called tariff barrier. Then there are non-tariff barriers also. For example, China will put a lot of concerns like the product should be of this quality or this shape, that size. These are called non-tariff barriers. Okay. So China is basically restricting the access of Indian products to its market. So this is the issue which our foreign minister highlighted with his counterpart. Okay. Fine. So this is another news. In this news, basically, they also talked about basically your peace around the line of actual control. Where is line of actual control? So if you look at the map of India, so this line here like this, and this line here like this. So this line is called LOC, line of control. and this area is called POK, Pak Occupied Kashmir. This line here is called Aksa. This line is called LAC, line of actual control, and this area here is called Aksai Chin. Aksai Chin. ठीक है. So India claims Aksai Chin as its own territory, while China claims it as its own territory. ठीक है. And this line of control is currently what divides India and Aksai Chin. India and Aksai Chin. So both these foreign ministers, they also talked about maintaining peace around the line of actual control. In the past, there have been skirmishes. There have been skirmishes around the line of actual control. Around the line of actual control. Okay. If you see about India-China relation, India-China are also members of a common platform called BRICS. There are three other founding members. So in total, there are 5 founding members of BRICS. Its basic BRICS is an economic group. Okay. It consists of B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, and S for South Africa. This group was formed in the year 2009. So here also both India and China engage and cooperate with each other. So even though we have some differences, but we time and again at different platforms, both India and China are engaging with themselves. Now this is a perfect example of the strategic alignment of India, the strategic engagement of India. Okay. We are friends with USO also in Quad, and we are friends with China also in platforms like BRICS. This is called smart diplomacy. Rather than being attached or being linked with one particular power or one particular country, we take care of our interest. We take care of our strategic, our strategic interests, which will fulfill our national interest. Okay, fine. Let's go to the next news now. Now the next important news is here. You see, is the Kane Betwa Rehab project. Okay. Now what is this? First of all, before going into the details of this news, first try to understand what is this Kane Betwa project. Now there are two rivers. One is your Kane River. Other is your Betwa River. Now this Kane River, it basically flows through Madhya Pradesh. While the Betwa River, majorly it flows through Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Now Kane River, it is a water surplus river. While the Betwa River, it is a water deficit river. Generally it remains dry. So this project was launched by Government of India to basically link both of these rivers. So if you look at here in the news, so it's a 44,605 crore rupees project called the Kane Betwa Link project. Okay. Kane Betwa Link project. Now purpose is to basically transfer water from the Kane River in Madhya Pradesh to the Betwa River flowing into Uttar Pradesh. Okay. The project is expected to irrigate over 9 lakh hectare supplied drinking water across the Bundelkhand and also generate hydropower. Now this Kane Betwa Link project, basically it's a river interlinking project. Now it's a mega project. If you look at the map of India, so if I draw the map of India here like this, excuse me for the bad drawing. If you look at the map of India like this, So we know that in this part of India, basically Northeast India and the Northern India, the rivers, they have surplus water. You might be seeing that recently Assam is basically suffering flood. Assam is suffering flood. Okay, but where does flood come? When there is surplus water in the river, then only flood comes. And in the southern part of India, the rivers are generally, they are monsoon dependent river, and generally they are dry. For this region, basically a Deccan region, this is the Deccan region, the river which flows, they are generally dry. So there is an ambitious project to link these North Indian rivers, to the rivers which are flowing here in the Deccan region, so that the surplus water of this area, it can be transferred to this area. It will solve the flood problems. The recurring flood which we see in the Northeast India, that will be solved. Okay. Hydroelectricity can be generated. Okay. And of course, the people of this part of India, who generally live in drought-like condition, dry condition, they will get water, and it will improve their agriculture also. But one of the main issues with this river linking project, which brings us to this news also, is that to basically complete this project, you need to acquire a lot of land. Suppose this is one river flowing and this is another river flowing. If you have to connect them, you have to dig a hole like this. So this entire length, this entire land needs to be acquired. Now this is the problem here. Now in the Kane-Betwa river project, this Kane river, it basically flows through a very important tiger reserve called as Panna Tiger Reserve. Okay, Panna Tiger Reserve. So if this project is completed, so it is also feared that lot of forest will have to be cleared in the Panna Tiger Reserve. That is one concern. And now talking about this news, what has happened? So to complete this project, the government had acquired a lot of land of the indigenous people who were living there. So generally what happens, whenever government acquires land, they have to, number one, give compensation. They have to give compensation to the people from whom they have acquired the land. And second, the government has to rehabilitate them also. Basically, to give them a different location to live. This is called rehabilitation. Now people here, they are protesting that proper compensation were not given to them. Whatever compensation was there, whatever it was promised, it was not given to them. This is their concern. And basically the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, he has promised that within a month all the issues will be sorted out. So again, we don't have to focus about what the government has promised. No, this is not our concern. What the key takeaway from this is your Kane-Betwa river link project. Okay. What is river linking project in general? Where is this Kane-Betwa project related? Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. Okay. So all these things you have to remember. Okay. Now let's move to the next news. Now coming to the op-eds. So there is one op-ed by Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who is the Congress leader. So I will not go into the detail of this op-ed because it generally talks about how the students' right to protest should not be curbed by the government. Okay. So from this article, you can borrow one line. This line says, the true measure of constitutional democracy lies not in the authority it wields to enforce compliance, but in the humility with which it engages dissent. Now, what is the meaning of constitutional democracy? See, try to understand. Constitutional democracy means democracy where the constitution is supreme. And what does Dr. Tharoor says? See, we will not go into the detail of this entire article. Basically, the crux of the entire article is basically that students' right to protest should be preserved. Whatever fundamental rights under Article 19 has been given, that should be enforced in both letter and spirit. That should be enforced in both letter and spirit. That is the crux of this article. Okay. So nothing much for the exam purpose. But this line here, the true measure of a constitutional democracy lies not in the authority it wields, ठीक है ना, to enforce compliance, but in the humility with which it engages a dissent. ठीक है, मतलब in democracy main purpose should not be that law enforcing. You should not focusing more on enforcing the law in a strict manner, but true democracy basically means, as per this quote, the true democracy basically means that the government should be open for criticism, constructive criticism. Government should be open for constructive criticism, and government should take any criticism in a very positive manner. That is what this quote of Dr. Tharoor basically signify. Okay. And as I told you, there is not much information with respect to your exam purpose in this article. Basically, he has given a gist of whatever has happened till now, which is not our concern right now. Okay, fine. We'll go to the next news. This is another news which says that AI future needs responsible data center regulation. Now, basically, this article, it talks about data centers. Now, what are data centers? Try to understand. So, all of us use Facebook, Instagram. We basically we upload our photos, we upload our videos. So, whenever you suppose you click a photograph in your mobile phone, so that photograph goes in the memory of your mobile phone. If you have a 128 GB memory or you have a 140 GB memory, what depending upon that. So that photograph will occupy some space in that memory. But whatever photo you upload in Facebook or Instagram, where does that photo go? Which memory does that photo occupy? So that photo basically, to store such things, these companies like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, they basically they create data centers. So data centers are basically areas or places where the data of these big companies are stored. Okay. Now the author is Mr. Sushant Kumar. He is an associate professor in the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. So basically, he raises concerns about these data centers. What does he say? He says that, so he gives an example of Massachusetts in USA. Now, Massachusetts is very famous because majority of the software companies, they are there in the Massachusetts only. So he says that basically the mayor of Massachusetts, she has what done? She has put on hold the plan to basically construct data centers in Massachusetts. And what reason have they given? It says that there's a very high energy cost. It strains local infrastructure. It harms public health and the environment. It also says that it draws a lot of water. These data centers, lot of water is required for this. So because of this, similarly, he gives the example of city of Amsterdam also, which barred new data centers or expansion until the year 2030. Okay. So now, by giving these examples, he talks about India now. So he says that Indian government is also very enthusiastic for creating these data centers. Now see, these data centers have security angle also. have security angle also. So why government of India or state governments, they are enthusiastic about creating data centers in India? Because see, you upload your photograph in Facebook, but where is this photograph stored? This photograph is stored in all the way in America, USA, where the data center of Facebook is there or Meta is there. So, and anytime Meta wants, they may use those photographs in whichever manner they want to use. In whichever manner they want to use. So if you remember, during your lockdown, one app called TikTok was banned in India. An app called TikTok was banned in India. Why? Because government was apprehensive that TikTok might use the data, Indian data, for against India. Because the data center of TikTok was in China, of course, was in China. So government was apprehensive of that fact. So that's why what government of India, basically they came out with different policies. State governments, they have come out with different policies. Like in UP, there is a data center policy 2021, whereby the government of Uttar Pradesh, they are inviting different companies to establish their data center in UP. To establish their data center in UP. Similarly, Tamil Nadu government also is giving incentives to build the data centers in Tamil Nadu. Okay. But what the author is suggesting, that all the environmental factors, even though data centers are good from the perspective of security of India, data security and all, but the author suggests that all the environmental factors should be taken into account before making any policy related to data centers. He gives an example like in Uttar Pradesh, there is a decline in groundwater from 30 meter to 180 to 250 meter. 250 meters. So he says that if large data centers are built, in that case, there will be more harm to the environment of India. So any project, try to understand, every project has both pros and cons. Are you getting my point? Has both pros and cons. Currently, the data centers which are there in India, they consume almost 1.6 gigawatt electricity. And it is projected by the year 2035, it will go up to 12 to 14 gigawatt. It's a huge amount of electricity. So if we are going for, building more data centers in India, we should take all the precautions concerning environment into account before framing any policy. That is the gist of this article by the author. Okay? By the author. So the last important news of today's newspaper is about NSE's Ahimsa Index. NSE's Ahimsa Index. Now what is NSE? NSE is basically your National Stock Exchange. So we know that there are two major stock exchanges in India. One is your BSE, other is your NSE. BSE stands for Bombay Stock Exchange. And they basically, we understand the functioning of Bombay Stock Exchange with an index called Sensex. While NSE measures the performance of the companies with the help of an index called Nifty. Now, NSE has launched another index. Called Ahimsa Index. Now, Ahimsa, it means non-violence. Okay. So, non-violence towards whom? Non-violence towards animals. So, companies that do not engage in animal cruelty, will be listed under this Ahimsa Index. Ahimsa means non-violence. So, companies which basically do not engage in animal cruelty, they will be listed under this Ahimsa Index. And investors will be able to invest their money under this Ahimsa Index of NSE. NSE stands for National Stock Exchange. So when was this launched? It was launched on July 10. It is called Nifty 500 Ahimsa Index. So there will be top 500 companies. Which companies? Companies which do not engage in animal cruelty. एनिमल क्रुएलिटी, ठीक है। सो दिस इंडेक्स वाज डेवलप्ड बाय द एक्सचेंज इन कोलैबोरेशन विद अहिंसा गेन फाउंडेशन, अहिंसा गेन फाउंडेशन, ठीक है। Who, which companies will be there in this index? Which companies will be there in this index? So basically, all those companies basically which do not engage in animal cruelty, they will be part of this. They will be part of this index. And which company will not be part of this index? For example, fashion brands. So we know that they use leather and all. Retail chains, cosmetic companies, due to the use of leather and wool. Due to the use of leather and wool, they will not be part of this अहिंसा इंडेक्स, ठीक है ना। ऑल्सो मेजर सी देयर इज अ कंपनी कॉल्ड रिलायंस ग्रुप, सो एक्सेप्ट फॉर रिलायंस पावर all the other companies have been excluded from this ahimsa index. Pharmaceutical companies, they have been excluded from this ahimsa index. Why? Because they do all their testing over animals only, ठीक है ना। all commercial banks and major non-banking financial corporations, they have been excluded because of their dealing with these companies which engage in animal cruelty. They have also been excluded. ठीक है, fine. So now the question comes, what is this index basically? ठीक है, we talk about Sensex and all. What is this index basically? So when I say ahimsa index, so there will be 500 companies registered under this ahimsa index, and based on the economic performance of these top 500 companies, this ahimsa index will basically move up or down, ठीक है। So your objective, your learning from this is that what is ahimsa index? Basically it's an index launched by which exchange? Launched by NSE, National Stock Exchange. Where is NSE situated? It is based in Mumbai. Is there any other exchange? Yes, there is another exchange called Bombay Stock Exchange. See, Bombay Stock Exchange is one of the oldest stock exchanges in the world. ठीक है। Bombay Stock Exchange also launched one index called the Satvik 100 index. Now this Satvik also basically signifies, Satvik also means basically it's a philosophy of non-violence, Satvik. So this Bombay Satvik Stock 100 index, it is also similar to your ahimsa index, basically, which stands against animal cruelty and exploitation, addictive and toxic product and activities considered harmful. So those companies which engage in these activities, they are part of this Satvik project. Satvik 100 index. Okay. So this is all about your today's newspaper. All the major news I have tried to cover. Okay. And by now you must have got an idea that how to read newspaper. Okay. Try to relate it with your syllabus. Okay. Don't go into the day-to-day or ball-by-ball commentary. Suppose some protest is happening, don't try to read which political party is coming, which political party is leaving. You would only focus on the content which is relevant for you. You have to act like a swan. If you give swan water and milk, swan will drink milk, will leave water. So you have to be like that. Otherwise, you will be lost in reading. There are so many news. You will be lost. You won't be able to complete one newspaper in one day. So in order to complete the entire newspaper, it might take time initially. So in these current affairs videos, we'll try to cover the major important news. But even if you're reading yourself, so try to be very, very exclusive and try to be very, very limited. Okay. So we'll meet again tomorrow. Thank you for today. Goodbye.